All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Stay Creative. Today is the 3D printer episode, and today I'm very blessed to have my good friend, Jim Vanden. That's right, Jim has been my inspiration for many things, but specifically for 3D printing. And welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So tell me why 3D printers are such a great thing to have.
And 3D printers are great. You can build stuff at home. You can learn about science and technology and engineering at home. They're convenient because you can make all kinds of parts for different types of things. If you've got hobbies, they're great to be able to build things for those hobbies. So if you're into like cameras, I built different types of mounts for things. I've built different things that break around the house. You can build parts for things like that. And it just helps you learn about engineering. It's good stuff.
So I've been working on this CR10. It's a Creality CR10 printer for hours. It took 4 hours to set up and then another 2 hours of troubleshooting. But I need to tell you, thank you so much, because off camera, you spent like literally 5 minutes. You only changed one variable, and that was the variable that we needed, which was to change the filament from one filament to another. And now it's printing. So I want to tell you, thank you so much for giving us that input.
You bet. It's my pleasure. I'm glad to see it's working. So PLA print filament's easy to print with. It's not as versatile as some of the other stuff like the P-tag that you have, but it's good to learn with. So it's relatively inexpensive, so you can make mistakes. You will screw stuff up. That's the whole point of or the whole learning experience. So get used to that. But it's something that's, when you're using the PLA filament, it's if it breaks or if you mess something up, you can start over. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. It's a good place to start learning before you start using the more expensive filaments and that are harder to print and harder to set up. So it's a good place to start learning.
Let's talk about all these people now during this pandemic have been stuck in their houses, and maybe a 3D printer might be a good investment because kids of all ages could create stuff. Could you just talk a little bit more about why, like during this time, a 3D printer might be a good idea?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 3D printers are great to have around all the time. So, the pandemic is a particularly good time, right? You've got, especially for those of us that have kids, right? They're at home, they can't go anywhere. So it gives you an opportunity to teach them how to use the 3D printer, how to create their own projects. Allows them to learn a little bit about, science and technology and learn a little bit about engineering. And that's kind of fun too, right? With the way that 3D printers have exploded over the last few years. There's all kinds of online resources that kids can navigate now and do their own designs. And frankly, it just keeps them busy for a long time too, which is great for those of us who are trying to work when our kids are home.
Yes, and it definitely is a time suck. I was actually very worried that this was going to take up like a whole month just to get it to print.
Oh, no.
And the other day I was in a location where I thought to myself, you know what? I promised my kids I was going to get this thing to work. And so you do not know how happy I am that I got this thing to actually print something, because I thought this was just going to be a glorified paperweight, and it's actually working. I cannot believe it.
Yep. I'll send you some what was worked for me for some of the P-tag filaments before. I'll send you some of my settings that I've used before. Those I typically have had to print at a much higher temperature to get them to print well. So I've printed those at 250, 260 degrees with a warmer bed than what you're printing there too. So it's much more finicky. But when you get something to print with it, it's awesome. That stuff is great. It's much more durable. It can withstand heat a lot better than this stuff can. That will melt out in the California heat. So on a hot day, so it will deform. So you'll find that out. But it's great to learn how to use it. But you want to start learning how to use like ABS or your P-tag or some of the other types of filaments too. But I'll send that to you after we're done. Perfect.
So our first print is actually a GoPro mount for a skateboard. So my daughter's been dying to see this, all the point of view shots from her skateboard as she rides down the street. So
that's awesome.
This is going to be the first thing we print. It's pretty small, but that way, we can just see if it works and then build bigger stuff. But, one of the other things I want to build is I want to build legs to this. They have like a file to raise this up actually, and then you can put all the electronic components of it underneath the 3D printer to consolidate the footprint of this thing, because this is massive. Like if you see it, it takes up a whole not a whole table, but half of a table at least, with all the electronics and then the frame. But I got this big one because I wanted to have the big print bed to be able to make, bigger projects. So
yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah, the bigger print bed is nice because you can print stuff that's much taller. The one that I have, you can't print stuff quite that tall, which will be very useful for some of the larger prints that you want to do. Some of the things in the smaller printers, you have to print it in 2 or 3 pieces and glue it together. So you'll be able to print much larger things. The only downside of those large printers are you always get more nervous. The larger the print is, something screws up halfway through or something like that. But most of the time that doesn't happen. But
yeah, that is definitely a big time
reliable
investment if you have this big file, like literally size-wise, and let's say it's a giant vase. I mean, that can cost a lot of money. That's a lot of filament, right? And then if that all of a sudden stops like 70% of the way, then you got like yourself,
it's a lot of time too.
A lot of time invested. Yeah. So what's the longest print that you've ever printed?
Longest one I've ever printed is probably maybe 20 hours or so. I've seen people print much larger things, but because of the printer I have, you can't print things that are much larger than that. 20 hours is about what I've done. But I've seen people that have done things that have gone for 40 hours or something like that. But yeah, that's just the biggest I've ever done, or longest I've ever done.
So what's really cool now is medical technology has advanced so much that people are actually, like doctors and stuff, are printing 3D heart valves. And so the joke was that I was going to print a 3D heart valve with this thing and that we were going to use it and it was going to cost a lot less money and maybe be the same product. But I think that that's such an amazing advancement. Like, I've heard of people 3D print a Lamborghini. This dad printed the shell of a Lamborghini and put it on like a Honda or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But, you can 3D print shoes. I've seen people running with 3D printed shoes on their feet. What do you think is the coolest thing that you've seen that's 3D printed?
The coolest thing that I've seen 3D printed, some of the costumes that I've seen have been pretty cool. I don't know how useful they are, but things like the Iron Man costume, you see that a lot on some of the 3D printing sites. Those things are cool in that they're really interesting to see the intricacy of those things. But to me, some of the things that are more things that you can actually use in real life are really the cool things to me. Things that actually have real utility to them. I mean, the costume stuff are cool, but things that I can use every day, I think are really cool, right? Get a lot of use out of those things and actually, see them in everyday use, or some of the things that I think are the coolest. So, but some of the things that are just like visually awesome are some of these things where people print out their own, like Iron Man and other costumes, and they do their own artwork or print it or painting and those kind of things.
Yeah, like basically like cosplay. So like now people can actually create the armor for a stormtrooper or Iron Man, like you said, and then they add their own stuff like the electronics to make like the arc reactor light up. I mean, the possibilities here are endless, and it's so cool because like if something in your house breaks, like a knob right here on this, this thing right here behind me, I could reprint this little piece. All right, one of the cool things, a great resource online, is this website called Thingiverse. And basically it allows you to download blueprints that you can print of almost anything. It's like an open source e-commerce site where people can either give it to you for free or you pay for designs. Can you elaborate on that, Jim, a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great site. People contribute to that site. There's tons and tons of things that are uploaded to that site every day. People can download it for free. So it's a free marketplace where people create or modify existing designs, and then they upload them and categorize them so they're easy to find. They have all kinds of categories for the things that they have uploaded there. A lot of them are modifiable too. So if you need a knob but you need a different size, you can actually do some of the modifications right online for some of those things too, which is great. So if you're looking for something very specific that you're trying to build, a lot of those things can be modified online before you print them, and you download the updated design and print it. So it's a great site to start with.
Another really cool piece of software that I found, I'm a Mac guy, I know you're a PC guy, is this software here called Ultimaker Cura. And that allows you to actually take the design from someone else's blueprint and turn it around in the XYZ axis to make it optimize the best for printing. Can you elaborate on kind of that splicing software and what it does?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the slicing software, all it really does is it translates the 3D object that's in your computer to be able to translate that to what's going to get printed on the printer device that you have, and so it translates that into how the 3D printer moves to actually moves the heads around to actually put the plastic in the right places to print out the design. So that builds it from the base of the printing, the printer bed, all the way up to whatever the thing is that you're printing. So Cure is a great one. There are lots of them out there. That one runs on PC or Mac. There's a lot of others out there as well, but that's a great one that's out there. So, and I've used that one quite a bit myself.
Are there other resources you can think of for the hobbyist 3D printer person who's just getting started? Any other websites you can think of? Any other filament you'd recommend? Any brand of 3D printer? Once again, this is the Creality CR10 printer. Came highly recommended. What else you got? What else do you think we could have our audience learn about?
The other thing I would recommend, which people are pretty familiar with already, is YouTube. YouTube just has millions of videos on things. So like the printer you have, for example, there's hundreds of videos of people using that printer in various ways. So now with so many people doing at home 3D printing, there's lots and lots of great stuff out there. So you can see how to, sometimes like the manual on yours, for example, was really tough to use, right? So there are people that are out there that printed, that actually videotaped 5-minute, video on how to get things set up. So what I found there, is there's just those quick little hit videos that help you with something when you're stuck on things, like don't know how to fix a clogged printer head, or don't know how to set up a certain thing. Like, for example, your printer, you're going to need an enclosure for it if you want to print ABS plastic. Great little videos out there. Takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to watch them on how to build those things, and then you can do a lot of that yourself too. So that's the other thing, just seeing it sometimes, and that's why things like a YouTube site or channel or other things like that where you can watch people do it are just super helpful.
I also know that
watching people is so much more helpful sometimes.
I also know that we have, I've come across a Facebook group for this specific printer, which is the Creality CR10 Facebook group. And that also, I was able to ask questions on there and get responses fairly quickly on what, I could do to troubleshoot. So that was really also a great thing. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. Go ahead, Jim. What were you going to say?
I was going to say there's lots of great sites like that. During the pandemic, there was a site that was called Print the Curve Flat, and that was a really interesting site. So it people could print all kinds of personal protective devices. So things like ear savers for face masks, and plastic molding for printing face shields and those kinds of things. And then there was they had it organized so people would be able to collect those and send them to hospitals or nursing homes or those types of things that needed those types of materials. So there's those types of sites as well. They had a great Facebook site as part of that movement as well. So, and they produced a lot of really cool stuff, and now they uploaded a lot of that stuff into Thingiverse and other sites, and you can go download their PPE devices and all kinds of other cool stuff that came out of that. So it's a great addition to just the kind of the open universe that the 3D printing is now.
If you guys are interested in learning how to stay creative, feel free to come to our website, spygamestudios.com, where we can network you with creative people like Jim here, who can teach you how to do great stuff like this. I know he's got a day job, so yeah, he doesn't have much time, but definitely we can pick each other's brains as a community and learn how to stay creative. So Jim, thank you so much. My last question, of course, is where can people find you online? I know you told me LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, man, that's the only place for me. Yep.
All right, cool. So if you guys want to, follow Jim, make friends with him, this guy is one of the smartest people I know, and I'm so grateful for all of his help over the years. Thank you, Jim. One more time. You hear my dog in the background. That means it's time for me to go. Don't forget to stay creative, guys. All right. Thank you. Goodbye, my friend.
Bye-bye.